Weddings are supposed to be beautiful, magical, and heartwarming. That's what I told myself when I agreed to give the maid of honor speech at my best friend Emma's wedding. Little did I know this would turn into the most humiliating day of my life. The lead up to the wedding was idyllic: Pinterest boards, dress fittings, and hours spent debating flower arrangements. Emma was glowing, and I, as her best friend, felt honored to stand by her side. The speech, however, was a different story. Public speaking has always made me sweat like I've been thrown into a sauna. But for Emma, I promised myself I'd push through. I practiced for weeks. My speech was a perfect blend of humor and heartfelt sentiment, or so I thought. I even had a joke about the groom's obsession with Star Wars. "May the Force be with you both," I wrote in my notes, chuckling at my cleverness. Fast forward to the big day. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and the reception was like something out of a fairy tale. Twinkling lights, champagne fountains, and a live band playing soft jazz. As dinner ended and the speeches began, my stomach churned. I clutched my champagne flute, praying it would magically turn into a potion that made me invisible. When my turn came, I stood up, trembling but determined. The first few lines went well. People laughed at the right moments and sighed in appreciation when I recounted Emma and Jake's meet-cute story. Confidence bloomed in my chest. I could do this. And then it happened. I glanced down at my notes, and for some reason they didn't look familiar. The ink smudged, the paper was damp. It must have been my clammy hands. My heart raced. I tried to riff, throwing in a joke about Emma's cooking, which landed awkwardly. People smiled politely, but I could tell I was losing them. Panicking, I flipped the page, only to realize I'd accidentally grabbed an old grocery list instead of my final draft. Instead of heartfelt anecdotes, I saw eggs, oat milk, toilet paper. The room grew quieter. My brain scrambled. "Oh, Emma and Jake are like, peanut butter and jelly?" I blurted. "Because they stick together and, sometimes get stuck in your teeth?" A few chuckles broke the silence, but I knew I'd lost them. I tried to recover with the Star Wars joke. "Jake, may the Force be with you," I said, attempting a Jedi hand wave. But in my nerves, I accidentally knocked over my glass of champagne. It toppled onto the table, soaking Emma's bouquet. "Oh my God," Emma hissed, her face a mix of amusement and horror. I bent down to grab the bouquet, only to catch my heel on the tablecloth. It slipped, pulling a tray of desserts down with it. Mini cheesecakes and eclairs rained onto the floor like sugary confetti. The room gasped. My cheeks burned hotter than the surface of the sun. Surprise dessert bar?" I mumbled. And then the cherry on top, my dress. While bending to pick up the desserts, I heard a sickening rip. My new dress, already snug, decided it had had enough. The zipper split completely, leaving the back wide open. I froze, clutching the remnants of my dignity and my dress, while the entire room stared. The silence broke with laughter. Not mean-spirited, thankfully, but genuine, belly-shaking laughter. Even Emma, who was still holding her soggy bouquet, was doubled over, tears streaming down her face. "Classic you," she said between giggles, hugging me. "This is why I love you." Somehow, I made it through the rest of the evening, borrowing a shawl to cover my ripped dress and avoiding any attempts at dancing. By the end of the night, people weren't talking about the embarrassing speech or the dessert disaster. They were saying it was the funniest, most memorable wedding they'd ever attended. Looking back, I realized the day wasn't a total disaster. Sure, I humiliated myself in front of 200 people, but I also reminded everyone that weddings aren't about perfection. They're about love, laughter, and sometimes a little chaos. And now, whenever Emma and I reminisce, she always says, "Your speech stole the show." I just hope she never asks me to do it again.